adopting a consensus-based mechanism rather than voting. It encompasses political, economic, and societal dimensions. The first phase of the national dialogue produced strategic outcomes where the President of the Republic referred to the relevant state authorities for study and implementation all relevant decisions. Additionally, numerous detainees were released upon recommendations from the Presidential Amnesty Committee. Namely for those eligible for amnesty or pardon before completing their sentence. In the field of press and media, we have more than 580 registered newspapers, 27 licensed satellite channels, and 94 licensed electronic platforms, and more than 14 radio stations. These entities are regulated by an independent council with enjoying the necessary guarantees and powers to issue decisions and subject to judicial review for annulment and compensation. Dear participants, political pluralism is one of the main pillars supporting intellectual and political diversity in the country. The Constitution and the law guarantee citizens the right to form political parties through notification to the political parties committees, which is a judicial nature. The pluralism was evident in the last parliamentary elections. 92 parties competed, 13 parties are represented in the House of Representatives and 15 in the Senate. Elections were conducted with full transparency, managed by an independent authority under full judicial supervision, and monitored by foreign media, civil society organizations, and foreign diplomatic missions. The most recent presidential election saw the participation of 4 candidates conducted under full judicial supervision, open media coverage, monitoring by international, regional, and local organizations. 9,300 polling stations were involved, and 14 judges took part in the election process. In conclusion, human rights are integrated, interconnected, with each right leading to another. We aspire for these rights to be a universal achievement enjoyed equally by all, without discrimination, politicization, exaggeration, or double standards, or politicization. We also call for, we reiterate that Egypt remains committed to advancing human rights through modern legislation and wise institutional policies, drawing on successful international experiences while also respecting the specificities and the needs of the state at the constitutional and society level. Thank you for listening.
السادة الحضور.
Dear participant, the public prosecution in Egypt, which I represent, is part of the judiciary. It's one of the most competent authorities to fully implement international conventions and agreements, those related to human rights, which Egypt has ratified. All members of the public prosecution in Egypt from various grades are judges acting independently without interference from any authority. The public prosecution in Egypt is an investigative and prosecutorial authority. It is competent to take measures in all criminal procedures, investigation and prosecution, and takes measures to protect witnesses and victims according to international law and international commitments in a framework of integrity and transparency. Since 2020, our public prosecution has been fully digitalized, and all measures can be immediately tracked by the supreme judicial authorities, and services are provided to everyone in easy, safe, and complete manner. The legal recommendations on the work of the public prosecution are about, first, to promote guarantees to the accused in the pre-trial phase. Before initiating any measures, the public prosecution notifies the accused in the presence of his lawyer about the sanctions, the evidence, if he has witnesses from the prosecution or the defense, and he has the right to have a defense counsel, the right to remain silent, and to contact his family. The public prosecution receives complaints from legal and physical persons from Egypt and from outside Egypt by any channels, namely legal channels and public channels. We have revised the legal position of all accused detained in the pre-trial phase. There is not a single person in jail in Egypt contrary to the law, and we resort to alternatives to pre-trial detention whenever this is possible. Recently, for instance, we have released a number of persons accused in detained in pre-trial detention for terrorism charges, and 716 of them have been released. In the field of countering torture, we act transparent and efficient manner. We undertake monitoring and supervision of all detention facilities and rehabilitation facilities, and we have also public information material where we preserve the privacy of the inmates. We have engaged in 20 investigation and monitoring campaign for 20 detention and rehabilitation centers and 17 police stations since from September 2023 until January 2025. We have also issued a practical guidebook for monitoring and investigation techniques that has been distributed to all detention facilities and police stations. We are continuing on providing training to all law enforcement agencies, and we have established a library for child protection and protection of elderly and persons with disabilities. We cooperate with our state agencies and international counterparts who have been able to dismantle a number of terrorist networks, and we have notified other countries about the presence of foreign fighters or terrorist cells or illegal funders without any abuse of human rights. Our public prosecution is a guarantor of the fundamental judicial rights without any abuse of human rights. Mr. Vice President, as a representative of the Ministry of Justice, it is my pleasure to give you an overview about what we had achieved in the field of human rights. We have issued a system of e-governments in front of our courts. We have also operated a system of e-litigation in our governorates. We have also implemented a project of remote examination of pre-trial detention orders. We have launched the law enforcement project, which targets the digitalization of criminal courts and connecting them electronically with all relevant competent authorities. In cooperation with UNICEF, we have equipped 33 child-friendly courts in our republic. We have established also a number of courts that preserve the rights of the child. We implemented an eco-friendly court in cooperation with many national authorities. At the legal and humanitarian level, human resources level, we have promoted the capacities of all relevant judicial authorities by organizing training sessions with the UNODC. We have launched the National Center and Platform for Judicial Studies called the Academy of Judges in cooperation with the ILO and the program ADWA. We have also appointed women in the Supreme Constitutional Court, Court of Audit, and the public prosecution. The death penalty is a legal and legislative matter that is under the sovereignty of the state. It is implemented only on the extremely serious crimes and is compulsory in very specific cases after exhausting all legal guarantees, namely consensus in the judgment, and the decision is also submitted to the President of the Republic, who examines the constitutional possibility of granting the accused person amnesty or to alleviate the sanctions. We also work based on our national values, identity, and principles. Mr. President, Vice President, regarding the accession of conventions, protocols of or lifting reservations, our country is constantly revising our connections and relationship with the treaty bodies. We are re-examining the conventions which we have not ratified or our reservations based on the terms of our constitution and of our law and according to our international commitments. even if we did not abide or ratify some conventions or express some reservations, we still guarantee the basic rights and freedoms. And we are currently examining, joining or ratifying some international agreements. For instance, we have agreed recently on joining the African Charter for the Rights of People and the rights of human rights of elderly persons in Africa, and the African Protocol on Persons with Disabilities. Based on our national strategy for human rights, the Ministry of Interior examines complaints from all citizens that reach us through the system of complaints of the government or public prosecution or National Council of Human Rights or other councils. Our ministry is also taking many measures to monitor any human rights abuses, such as inaugurating hotlines for abuses or establishing ad hoc entities of human rights in all the public entities in the Republic, and to have also some police officers allocated to receive complaints from the citizens and to follow up. From 2019 until the end of 2024, the Ministry of Interior has taken many measures against all those who are involved in abuses, in legal abuses or crimes. We have we have examined 1,203 complaints, and some of them were referred to disciplinary courts or to the public prosecution. Regarding the national strategy of human rights, the Ministry of Interior has integrated human rights curricula in all the programs of the Police Academy and training sessions that are organized for law enforcement or university courses. From 2019 until 2024, we have organized 86 training sessions for those who are working in the Ministry of Interior to train them on human rights in coordination with the UNODC and the OHCHR. These sessions have tackled areas such as Nelson Mandela rules for the treatment of prisoners, combating violence against women, and developing healthcare in the rehabilitation centers. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Thanks to the delegation of Egypt. We will now continue with our interactive dialogue, and we will start with Singapore. I now give the floor to the distinguished representative of Singapore.
Mr. Vice President, Singapore welcomes the participation of the Arab Republic of Egypt in the UPR process. Singapore commends Egypt's efforts to reduce illiteracy, having lowered the illiteracy rate for rural youths to 10% in 2022. We recommend that Egypt continue enhancing its efforts to eradicate youth illiteracy. Singapore also commends Egypt's efforts to enhance access to education for persons with disabilities, significantly increasing the number of such students integrated in the education system. We recommend that Egypt continue to strengthen access to education for persons with disabilities. We wish Egypt a successful review. I thank you.
Thank you, Singapore. Now I give the floor to the distinguished representative of Slovakia.
Thank you, Vice President. Slovakia welcomes the high-level delegation of Egypt and thanks for its national report. The Slovak Republic appreciates the constructive engagement of Egypt with the Human Rights Council and acceptance of a significant number of the recommendations from previous review. We still note limited progress in the field of discrimination and violence against women. Therefore, Slovakia recommends to Egypt enact a law criminalizing all forms of violence against women, including domestic violence, sexual harassment, marital rape, institutional violence, virginity testing and honor killing, and also intensify efforts to raise awareness among both men and women of the criminal nature of gender-based violence. We wish Egypt a successful review. Thank you.